If you haven't watched the James Rutherford police interrogation and processing, I highly urge you to do so. Quick background on Rutherford is he was caught on To Catch a Predator, the fourth episode, in late March of 2006 out in Ohio. This footage originally came, the police interrogation footage, originally was aired on MSNBC On Demand back 2007, 2008, 2009, until they stopped airing To Catch a Predator. And then it was uploaded to YouTube by numerous people, including Alicia Exo and a few others. And all of the Ohio police interrogations, all of the Ohio uncut footage from the house, as well as the previous sting, number 3 in Riverside, California, all of that uncut footage was shown on MSNBC as well. And then onto YouTube. Back in maybe early 2015, NBC purged all that shit off of YouTube and it was gone for maybe a year and a half. And over at the forums on Temple of TCaP, we asked around, and I know Tix had reached out to Alicia, who was one of the original uploaders of the TCaP stuff to YouTube, and she no longer had it, but a guy named Jacob Danforth came out and said, yo, I have all this stuff, and he had most of it, and he gave us the footage, and it got back up on YouTube sometime in 2016. We put all that stuff up, and NBC can't touch it. They don't have the copyright footage for this, or at least they don't care. So there's no copyright issues with any of the stuff getting up, and that's why most of the stuff you see on there is the uncut Ohio, Riverside, and these police interrogations. And the Ohio police interrogations are great. I mean, the Jeff Stacy is great. The Voot Ozcan, rest in peace, is great. Westerbeck, so many others are on here and are just amazing. Refner, Jay Refner, is one of the best ones too, and so much better than his TCaP footage. This video here comes from the Captaining channel, so shout out to them. There was an issue maybe a year ago, a little over a year ago, where Rutherford complained to YouTube, and Joey's channel, the Captaining channel, Base Shaman's channel, and I think there was a fourth channel, somebody I don't know, all had this interview footage up. And we were offered to take it down and not receive any kind of harassment strike or edit out some of the footage, including his name and address. And I think we all took it down, but this goes back up. You know, you can't stop this stuff. This is public information, and it's public record, and it's allowed to be up there. If he complains again, it'll go down again, but it'll go back up. Now, there's no real need to go into this in detail. It's very straightforward. If you love the police interrogations, if you love laughing at these guys, or if you love getting into the psychology of their minds, Rutherford's one of the best ones. It's 115 minutes long, and if you combine this with his 35-minute long uncut footage from the house, I mean, that's almost 2 hours of fucking pure Rutherford hilarity. Some people ask, why didn't he ask for a lawyer? Or he kind of did. At one point he says, do I need a lawyer? Here in the United States, you're allowed to stop this police interview, and you're allowed to ask for a lawyer. You can say, listen, I don't want to answer questions. Or you say, listen, I'd like to have a lawyer here. Rutherford had money. He could afford a lawyer, but if you can't afford a lawyer, they'll appoint you a lawyer. But he's trying to talk his way out of it. They don't deny him a lawyer. It's just they're not going to hold your hand. You got to ask for it. They tell you flat out, too, when they arrest you, you have a right to a lawyer. You have a right not to say anything. And anything you say will be used against you in court. There's nothing he can say here that's going to benefit him. Not one thing at all. The only thing he can say is, listen, I don't like answering questions. Let me talk to a lawyer before I answer any questions. And they'll say, okay, fine. I mean, fucking Lauren Armstrong had the intelligence to ask for a lawyer. One of the few predators that did. You know, the couple of cops they caught did as well. I mean, they were smart enough. But fucking Rutherford spills his whole guts, and then at the end of this whole interrogation, guess what he does? He fucking asks for a lawyer, and they go, you know what? You'll be in court on Monday. You can ask for one then. And now, if you ask fans of To Catch a Predator, who was the most hated? Which guy do you hate the most? Or which guy do you think is the most dangerous? A lot of people are going to answer this guy. They're going to answer James Rutherford. And I'll tell you why. Number one, he was a smart guy. He's not an idiot. He's not Michael Seibert. He's a smart guy. Number two, he's a fairly young. He's 26, and he's a fairly good-looking guy. I mean, he's got a goofy face. But as far as the 350 guys they called him To Catch a Predator, he's got to be in the top 1% of most handsome guys. He drove a red Corvette. And what's fucking scary about him is he was a teacher. He was a teacher for a coach, a sports coach, and a math teacher at an all-girls Catholic school. And he taught sixth grade girls. Sixth grade girls are 11 to 12 years old. Maybe 13 if they started late or stayed back. So, but mostly 11, 12 years old. And he's coming out to meet a decoy who had just turned 13. So just about the same age as the girls that he taught. And you'll see later, like, there's a lot of parents that were very concerned about him. He lies the whole fucking time with Chris and here, but he's smart enough not to tell stupid lies. He'll say he forgot. And he says, I wasn't going to do anything. Then he changes it to, well, I might have kissed her. Then he changes it to, well, I might have had sex with her. And then he changes it to, it was just her, to, I've done this many times. So he was a serial predator on kids. I'll go into his arrest information later, but he got multiple charges. I mean, he was charged on the TCaP sting for talking to the decoy, and that's why they brought in Emily Bix to be the house decoy. That's the first house decoy, if you don't count Dell. The first house decoy they brought in because he liked to show off on webcam, and he wanted the girl to be on webcam. And so they brought in a very small and very young-looking actress who was 18 or 19 called Emily Bix, who went on cam with him. And he was also, right after this interrogation, he was arrested by police in Indiana, a neighboring state, for another sting. Police there were doing a sting, and he talked to multiple decoys in Indiana and faced charges over there. And some of the parents at school said there were girls in his class that didn't go to his class anymore because he was grooming them. I mean, this guy was bad news. He was smart, and he had access to kids, and he had a really, really big problem. So let me show you how they got him here over at Perverted Justice's page. The decoy, the chat decoy, was a person named Almond Joy, and it looks like they met him on a messenger site first, and it started pretty tame, and then it went over through Yahoo Chat, and it got pretty graphic. I don't think he mentioned sexual intercourse, but it was a lot of him jerking off on camera, and a lot of him asking for nudes of the girl, and lots of talk of making out and cuddling and grinding against each other, and all kinds of shit that a 6th grade math teacher shouldn't be talking to a 13-year-old girl about. The decoy was Almond Joy, and Almond Joy is great. Almond Joy, here's a list of people that Almond Joy busted, and one of the people that she busted was Mr. B. Jones, otherwise known as Jerry Griffith, the guy that brought the apple pie to the previous sting out in Riverside, California. And what's great, what Almond Joy did is after the chat and after Griffith went to the house and got arrested, when he got out on bail and went home, he went back on Messenger, and Almond Joy saw him on Messenger and hit him up again. And if you go to Perverted Justice's website, it's so fucking funny. He starts freaking out on her. You fucking liar. You fucking got me in trouble. Fuck you. Leave me alone. And you'll see, I'll show you at the end of this, Almond Joy, I believe it's Almond Joy. I mean, I have no proof, but it's probably Almond Joy, trolled Rutherford on another site too. So on Perverted Justice's page, this is a little synopsis written by Joy about catching Rutherford, and she says, he says, in the middle of March 2006, I was trolling in Ohio chat rooms, blah, 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 and they found this 6th grade Catholic school teacher, which was Jim. This sure got my attention, and I thought to myself, if he's chatting, what is he doing with the students? He went further, and he told me he also coached girls track at the school, putting him in an even closer relationship with young girls. Rutherford was married, and he talks about this in the sting, that he got divorced, or his wife left him a few days before the sting, and they say maybe his wife knew about his tendencies. At his sentencing, he had to undergo a psychosexual evaluation from the doctor, and they uncovered many icky things about Mr. Rutherford. He got some extended time and unlimited. Most of the Ohio guys came off the registry. Rutherford is still on the registry, but he only had 10 years where he had to report. So he got 45 days in jail, probation, no porn, no drugs, no alcohol. Has to submit a DNA sample. 36 months, 3 years, excuse me, of parole, where he has to check in with his PO officer and behave himself. Sex offender counseling for an indefinite period because he had poor results in court-ordered psychological sexual offender evaluation. Sex offender status for 10 years in Ohio, but he's not going to be on the registry. I mean, we're not going to be able to see him. Of course, he lost his teaching certificate as well. Now, this is fucking funny here. This is where the troll comes in on a Corvette website. And if you Google IU Rutherford, which was his screen name, which I think stands for Indiana University Rutherford, he drove a red Corvette to the Sting house, and he was active on this Corvette forum. And somebody made a post like, hey, has anybody ever pooped on your nice shiny red Corvette? And he tells a story that that he was driving around, and a bird didn't poop on him, but a bird, as it was flying, laid an egg right on his red Corvette, and he had to stop and clean it off. Now, do birds fucking lay eggs while they're flying? No, they don't. It's another fucking lie that he tells. Birds don't fucking lay eggs when they're flying. It takes too much effort. They go into their nest, and they sit there for hours, and they lay an egg. They don't lay eggs when they're flying. And I looked at multiple sites. I'm not a bird expert, but according to the internet, birds don't fucking lay eggs when they're flying, Jim. So he makes this post, and Princess Danica comes out of nowhere, and Princess Danica was the name of Almond Joy, the decoy, and she fucking lights into him right here. And I'll let you guys read it. And you can go to, I don't even know what it's called, some Corvette forum. Just Google IU Rutherford and Corvette, and it'll pop up. But she fucking rips him a new asshole. And this is the same decoy that ripped the apple pie dude, Griffith, one too. So hats off to Almond Joy. So seriously, guys, what I recommend you do is have a couple of drinks, do whatever you do one night, and then put on the 35-minute interrogation, which you can find on this channel. You can find it on the Cappening channel. You can find it on other channels. And then immediately go to the hour and 15-minute police interrogation. Get the whole 2-hour submersion into James Rutherford's slow burn as he thinks he can talk his way out of it, gets angry, and then slowly gives up little bits and bits of information until you realize this guy is a serial child molesting predator, and really bad news. Although he looks fairly normal, Princess Danica, aka Almond Joy, calls him Frog Eyes and Frog Face in this post. But he's a fairly normal guy and a young guy who came from a good family and fucked everything up because he's a sick, twisted pervert. Thanks for listening. Go watch the interrogation. You don't need me to walk you through it. You don't need me to hold your hand. It's fascinating. And have a good night, everybody.